I find myself listening to these stories, HP Lovecraft. Now, yes, he is a fictional writer, but lately in stories, he has been coming out with some very great details. And this one really blows my mind because I've been covering this long before I ever listened to this story or any of his stories, and I'm telling you, it's starting to get freaked out by his stories. Because every time I hear a story, it's got something to do with something I've said or covered. And like I say, this guy was from the writing in the 1920s, 1930s. And to keep hearing things that this guy goes over. Damn it. What is this? The darkened shadow, I believe that is. Nah, damn it. Bear with me. I gotta get that video up. This one.
As he commenced his canvas of red.
Oops. The horror at Red Hook. And this one goes on. I haven't listened to the whole thing, but just because of the details of what he speaks of in the story, it literally has got my head just going. And I believe there was a town named Innsmouth, like Portsmouth. And it was a small town. I was just yesterday in a town that pretty much, picked up and disappeared. I was out in New Hampshire, Munson, New Hampshire, Munson Center. This town had to have been, taken out and so forth. It wasn't uncommon back in the day, I guess, to take towns out if they didn't do well. But in this story, it talks about creatures and people that look funny, deformed or whatnot, and they're looking like, this guy had a huge infatuation with aliens, which, don't get me wrong, just like the movie Men in Black. You don't know who lives among us. You don't know who could be an alien or not. But how he maps out his ride. Like, when you get into these stories, it sounds like he has done this. He has literally, made this journey in this book. That's how it's like a journal, for Christ's sakes. It's more like a journal than a damn story. Because you think it's him doing these things. And who knows if it ain't. But let me go to my pen out here. He speaks in this story about Newburyport, Ipswich. Now this is what really gets me just thinking, whoops. Because he's going to this Innsmouth town called Innsmouth. Now, as far as I can read and listen to the reading in the story, the journey starts like at West Street or High Street. It must be in Newburyport, because he says he gets on a bus for $1. Of course, back in the day, who wouldn't want to ride a bus for $1 this long? So I think somewhere in here, and he talks about how he's on this road and he passes Plum Island. Now here there is no bridge. But I'll tell you something, if I can find out if there was a bridge from this lay of land to across, then I know this guy is telling some detailed story. But he goes on to say that he travels the East Coast. He's looking out the left of the window, so you know damn well he's traveling south. Somehow he says he comes around. I've checked the roads and everything, but he mentions Cape Ann. So I'm taking he went this way, and that dot there, as you can see, is Cape Ann. And he speaks how he drives down this way. And I gotta go on another map. So let me erase this. Which would be... well, as you can see, the marsh is what I need. But as you can see here, Innsmouth, no results found. So most likely, if it is a fictional book, he made up a town, or there was once a town in like Munson Center, or any other friggin' town, like in Boylston, to make the reservoir taken out. But, he talks of the marsh, which, ah, damn it. I didn't bring up that part. Well, right around in here anyways. I'm believing we're in this area here. Or how he detailed it in the story. I'm thinking we're either over in here in Gloucester or in this area. And he talks about Devil's Reef and a house near this place. But what caught my attention the most in this story is, oh, damn you, a town in New York that my man Dave from Vermont mentioned long ago. Right here. Montauk. Of course, that's a Native American word. Native Americans used to, I found out, live up and down Long Island in New York. But there was a story I was covering about a guy who was getting haunted by a boy. And just west of this Montauk is where the guy lives, I believe, and I was going over that on a map. And Dave had made a mistake. Well, not him, but his phone. You know how you get spell checked screwed up sometimes? Well, that's what happened to him. He meant to say this town. He said another town that I looked up in New York, and he meant this one. Said strange things happened here. Just like this guy getting haunted by this Davy. If you want to look it up, Davy. Something Davy. Davy boy or something. But if you look up a guy with Instagram photos of Davy, you should get the full story. He's getting haunted by this ghost. And, all along Long Island is, just anything strange is going to happen due to Native Americans living there. And that whole island now is probably just totally wrecked from when they, lived, and the spirits are restless. Could be damn grave sites on this island that no one knows about. You could be living over bodies that were, just leveled out, never moved. That's what causes paranormal activity. And rotten paranormal activity, if you know what I mean. But lo and behold, what really caught my eye from the other story, HP Lovecraft, to this town here, is he speaks of underground tunnels. That's right. This place had come up in an article. I'm actually now going to go out. I was supposed to go over it, but now that all this has come up, and I'm getting stories written out by this HP Lovecraft from, at least 100 years ago, 80 years ago, whatever the case may be, 90 years ago, that sparks my mind of what the hell I've been talking about. Underneath us, what dwells? Every time now I listen to one of his stories, and he goes to say on in that story that the creatures, oh no, that was this one, new one I started, but I stopped it there. Yeah, that these creatures are coming in and out or whatever, and in that story, the one I just showed you. But just to give you an example, this man right here, I tell you gotta put a lot of details in them fictional books, boy. And for me to find out, that there's something more, and this is what I looked up for reefs of Rockport. So, there's a lot of reefs, but there's no Devil's Reef. But don't despair to think that did not get changed because of the name. And I think he might have said something about it taking lives or something too, but I'll tell you. This guy is coming out with some stuff in the stories that I'm covering, and I've been covering for the past at least 2 years, or a year on this, what's underneath us. And if he's going to talk about tunnels under there and did this and that, and that place in Montauk having tunnels, and that's a article now that was written by only in your state. This is getting, it just blows my mind what is, this stuff coming up with these underground taverns or caves and tunnels, and think about it, for Christ's sakes. Missing towns. The missing towns, I understand, sometimes they don't do well. Hey, they go away. But if something attacked them, like there's a town somewhere in Vermont or something that they don't know where the people went, or New Hampshire. Why did they get out of this town, and why did they leave? And it was all near a river. All near a body of water. So I can just imagine what really came out and scared them away from that body of water. You get towns in the 1800s that disappeared, just like in Green Mountain in Vermont. There was a town up there, they said it disappeared because, it didn't get much out, a landslide come down from what was it? I think it was the snow. Got buried in up there, and they didn't, think of the weather, and they got out of there. But still, the Green Mountains has a lot of history of missing people, unaware of where they've gone. Who knows where they, and within that recent sighting of a skinwalker out there, mind you, that I found out about. That's right, what's really out there. It's like what's really under there. So I got a lot more stories. I stop at certain points of these stories when this guy does talk about stuff like this. Jesus Christ, I'm even looking on the maps to try and map out where he's going, and like I say, a lot of towns that he speaks of don't exist because why? They could have been rightfully moved for some apparent reason. Just like in Boylston. Just like the reservoir out in Western Mass. Of course, all this crap ain't gonna come to my head. But that town I did a video on, and I have the newspaper article on that town that they had to tear down to make that reservoir, but still, you know, it could be just that, it could be this, it could be anything out there that makes something disappear, reappear, you know, crazy stuff that goes on. But what's underneath us, in these bodies of water, just like what's in the rivers that come out, lakes with no depths of bottomness, the abyss. And this guy right here, Lovecraft, is coming up with more of his own stuff. And this is long before I even spoke of it. So, like I said, I'm just now learning about this Lovecraft. And for him to be writing what I'm talking about, just, there's something there. It's more than just fictional. I don't care what anybody says. Believe it or not. I ain't never heard of this guy in my life. Actually, I gotta go ask my father, 83 years old. He used to have a huge book collection. And he would know this guy. And if he don't, that only goes to tell the truth that he was a very small writer in Rhode Island, like they said. He was not well known. But now, obviously, he's blowing up. It's writers like this that didn't get the publicity back in the day that I just feel real sorry for, because this is a multiple genius right here. This guy was a genius. And go figure, he was a little probably had a little mental health going on there. So what is with mental health people? You know what? People already think we people with mental health like moi are crazy anyways. We're talking crazy. But when stuff comes up in reality, like only in your state, covering stuff that's underground, like that underground river or tunnel in Connecticut, they say the serpent went, and you got the end of town, underground river in Connecticut, Cape Cod, you know, all these underground things, and the lost cities, or these cities that they've been saying don't exist. But all of a sudden, I've covered that article last week or so about these cities just coming up, of archaeologists finding stuff underneath. What's really going on? So, the story of Atlantis falling off into the sea, and people say that's not real. Well, bullshit. I think it's real now. Something had happened. Something probably took that sucker down. Whatever lives underneath us, huh? Think about it. Stop working them gears in your head. I am. When I got someone like this talking about something like this, and I've already covered stuff that come up from real live people now talking about it, there's no doubt in my mind that there's something underneath us, and it's just coming out now. Because we've either been covering it up or just too damn scared to go under there and find out. I think it's just been a cover-up. Huh? Till our next video, be safe, take care, and believe. Better start believing with me. It might be a little quacky wacky, but guess what? I am glad that everything I've learned when I was younger, I kept it stuffed in my head. Because, man, this stuff is just all coming together. And I can't believe, man, the stuff that I've kept. Just to think, sitting there thinking, maybe I should just keep thinking about this or save this piece or, just maybe. And here it is. All unrevealing. Finding out stuff. Giving my thoughts and theories. People need to look into people need to stop worrying about music on YouTube. Putting up that stuff or jumping around and hurting yourself, or I say it's time to start learning again, because whatever's under there and you're not prepared for it, you're in a world of shit. Gotta start learning about this stuff, people. Gotta start preparing. We don't know what's under there watching us. Out.